Founded in 1565 by Portuguese colonists, Rio de Janeiro enjoys one of the most spectacular settings of any city on the planet. Known as the Cidade Maravilhosa, or Marvelous City, Rio's intoxicating mix of natural beauty, iconic landmarks, and vibrant metropolitan life attracts almost 3 million international tourists annually. And that number will doubtless rise significantly over the coming years, with Brazil hosting the 2014 FIFA World Cup and the 2016 Summer Olympics, which will take place in Rio. The global sporting spotlight may also serve to highlight some of the city's less alluring aspects. Rio's shantytowns, or favelas, are home to around 20% of its 7 million inhabitants. These communities are characterized by a lack of infrastructure and public services and the low quality of life experienced by their residents. For decades, most of the favelas have been controlled by gangs of armed drug traffickers. Although only a small percentage of the population is involved in the drug trade, everyone living in these areas suffers from the consequences of the associated violence. This is the Murray complex in Rio's northern zone. It's made up of 17 interlinked favelas and is home to nearly 150,000 people. The area is controlled by 3 rival drug factions. They recruit children as their foot soldiers and resolve their differences with bullets. Crack cocaine is sold openly on the streets. 13 years ago, an organization called Luta pela Paz, or Fight for Peace, was founded in Murray. It uses boxing and martial arts combined with education and personal development to realize the potential of young people in communities that suffer from crime and violence. The organization's founder is Englishman Luke Doudney.
Fight for Peace is really about accessing young people that may be involved in high levels of violence through gangs or through other types of crime, and helping them to find a way out. But Fight for Peace also works with young people from communities that are affected by crime and violence, who may not have absolutely no involvement whatsoever. We're real believers in working and offering the program to everyone.
Doudney originally worked with Brazilian street children during the 1990s, while studying for a master's degree in social anthropology. A former amateur boxer, he recognized the sport's potential for attracting and working with young people living amidst crime and violence.
Boxing is something which, if you've done it, you know it's about discipline. You know it's about teaching someone self-esteem, confidence, never giving in no matter what. And all the lessons that we learn in boxing we can take into the rest of our lives. I certainly have done. I certainly wasn't a world champion, but just participating in boxing, competing, knowing the difference between getting in a ring and competing and not, were enough to teach me a lot about life. And there were a lot of things that I could use in the rest of my life as a result of that experience. So I felt that maybe if we combine this with more traditional youth work, we would have a really good way of accessing these young people that we weren't managing to access.
Fight for Peace's strategy for personal development is based on a model known as the 5 pillars. These are boxing and martial arts, education, employability, youth support services, and youth leadership. The boxing and martial arts pillar is open to young people ranging from 7 to 29 years old, whilst the educational pillar allows those without education or with learning issues to attend literacy and numeracy classes, as well as providing formal education through fast-track learning. Fight for Peace is very much youth-led. A youth council made up of elected members acts as a bridge between staff and project participants to ensure all opinions are considered in the planning and development of project activities. 18-year-old Ueli Damascedo is one of the council's representatives.
We have a say in everything that happens at Fight for Peace. We're an integral part of the decision-making process. There's a very diverse range of people here, and it's a place where they really listen to the opinions of young people.
Fight for Peace has also invested considerable resources in an elite athlete program. One of its graduates is boxer Roberto Custodio, a two-time Brazilian national champion who's been tipped to win a medal at the Rio Olympics.
Undoubtedly, young people that come from Fight for Peace and go on to make something of themselves publicly become very, very strong role models. We want young people winning national championships, going on to win Pan Americans and Olympic golds and so on, because they're such a strong hook for other kids to come into the project. But we would never do that at the expense of our overall program, which is, we know that 97% of the young people that come to this program won't go on to compete. They'll just be in here, and we want them in here so that we can get them into the education, and they can just benefit from sport, for all of the reasons that sport benefits people.
One of the organization's brightest boxing prospects is 14-year-old Michel Suarez. Like Roberto, Michel lost his father and several of his friends to gang violence. Michel has been attending Fight for Peace for around 5 years, and his ambitions include winning boxing titles at Pan American and World Championship level, and studying to become a lawyer.
The violence has affected my life, but I try not to think about it. I just concentrate on my boxing and studying. Fight for Peace is helping me, so I'll never follow a life of crime, but my family has been strongly affected by it.
Fight for Peace has spread its youth development model beyond the borders of Brazil. It's now active in over 40 countries worldwide, and by 2015 the aim is to reach over 70,000 young people in countries ranging from Lebanon to Costa Rica.
7 in 10 people who die violent deaths on the planet today die from gun violence outside of conflict zones. That's where most people are getting killed. The media tends to focus on traditionally understood conflict zones, but there's lots of stuff happening in cities around the world, and it tends to affect 15 to 24-year-olds more than it affects anyone else. And that's the age group, if we don't work with, is ending up in gangs or becoming radicalized and ending up in terrorism. And it's the age group that Fight for Peace focuses on most.
The organization's success has been bolstered by the support of numerous sporting icons, such as Emerson Fittipaldi, Martina Navratilova and Marvin Hagler. However, finding the money to run its projects is an ever-present issue, with demand for places at Fight for Peace's academies far outstripping its capacity. As the gaze of the sporting world shifts to Brazil ahead of next year's World Cup, Fight for Peace is campaigning harder than ever to ensure that young people affected by crime and violence continue to be given the chance to fulfill their potential.
There are now many, many chances, I think many opportunities to use an event like the World Cup or the Olympics to really make a difference to the lives of lots of people. We've been having some really positive conversations with the Brazilian Olympic Committee and the International Olympic Committee, from whom we won an award last year, around support and around developing projects together on a larger scale throughout Rio. So I think the sporting the world is definitely looking at what it can do here, and we're very much hoping to play a part of that over the next 4 years.